Civ is back, everybody. That is right. The new update has us very excited. We don't have the exact details yet, obviously, but the update check-in, I think, is very promising. I put out a video on that the other day or the other week, depending on when you see this, and I tried to kind of break down everything, but Connor and I felt it was important to do deep dives as I had kind of I don't know, predicted we would end up doing once he and I had a chance to talk about it. But yeah, welcome everybody to Civ House. By the way, I'm Rob, he's Connor.
Yo.
We are super ecstatic to have you here because it feels like the game is alive again, Connor.
Yeah, the tides are turning. I think this is not an overstatement for Civ fans. I think this is a really huge update. I think it gets at so much of what you and I and much of the community has been griping about, and in true Civ fashion, Rob, we get a really complete game just a few months after release, just right on brand with the franchise. But hey, we love it, and I'm really excited today. Today we're going to be doing, as Rob said, a deep dive on legacy paths. This legacy path on or off option. We kind of want to talk about what impacts this could have, why we're excited about it, why we're maybe not, and just kind of get into a full discussion. So I'll quickly read the excerpt from the developer blog, and we can kind of go from there, Rob. All right. Legacy paths on or off. You can now turn off legacy paths either per age or for all of them at once. With this change, you can now play Civ 7 without legacy mechanics to enjoy a full sandbox style game. Or if you want to focus on one or more legacy paths, you can turn specific ones on or off, rather. This option also includes the ability to turn off score victories. We definitely want feedback on how this one in particular feels, so let us know in our official Discord. Rob, what do you think about this? First thoughts, good or bad, excited, not excited? Let's get into it.
Okay. As always, before we dive in, though, like and subscribe. It does help us out a lot. Become a member. Shout out to Jacobiened, our Haus family member right now, who is able to be in the Discord. Will be in our multiplayer game later this month as well. We will make an announcement for that live stream later on. But, dude, I love this. I love it. I think it's great. And it's mostly because I think, like, I said it a little bit in the other video, but I do think it's important to reiterate that, you know, Civ has always been this sandbox style game. And it felt like they were kind of boxing us in, but also giving us choices. It was just a new kind of box that they were putting us in, I think, to a certain degree. And that's okay. But there are times where I did want to play without having to worry about legacy paths. I just wanted to focus on building my Civ the way that I wanted to based on what was happening within the game. And I think that was the problem is you felt like you were having to charge towards certain things when maybe the game wasn't really calling for that, but it was like, well, if I'm going to win, this is the only way to do it, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. There are ways that can work. But you and I have talked about it a lot. I still fully believe, and this is, I guess, technically a separate thought that we could talk about, but I still fully believe that they are going to completely revamp the legacy path system. I think from almost top to bottom before the time that this game is done, before legacy paths ever go away completely for the most part. I really do believe that that's going to happen, and I just appreciate the fact that they understand that. I think we made a video maybe 3 or 4 months ago, Connor, where I was like, I just want flexibility in the game. I want the ability to move around. So I don't know. That's my first thought there. We can dive into the second one in a second, but that's the big one.
Well,
the flexibility.
You identified something that I think is really important here, and this was going to be a talking point for me as well. And I think it's that legacy paths make you kind of measure your success as an empire based on metrics that are within the game. And that is like when those metrics don't feel good or feel accurate, it really makes you feel kind of like icky about your empire's success, because then you're just building to meet the legacy paths versus building what you believe to be the most optimal empire. And like that's, I think that is the crossroads that I think a lot of players are at is, you know, like you said, we just want flexibility. This is always meant to be a sandbox creative style game. And so it has felt in a way counterintuitive to measure success with that, with legacy paths. But I do understand. I do like them to kind of play the other side a bit. I really do like them in the sense that it's a new way to kind of have checkpoints or metrics in a game one of the things for me with Civ games for a long time is they always felt really daunting. And I would start a game, I'd play the first 100 turns, I'd get bored with it, and I'd move on. And that was so often an experience for me. Now the only problem is, a lot of times I will just play an Antiquity Age, and then the same feeling sets in. Of like, well, that kind of ran its course, I got some points, my Empire feels really different now with the age transition, which is a whole different conversation point, right? And now I have to kind of change what I'm doing to meet a new set of metrics, which that can be fun and challenging, and I really don't want to discount that as like as an enticing mechanic in the game. It really can be fun to be like, all right, I'm going to embrace the exploration age. I got to go get some treasure fleets. I got to make my tiles more dense. I got to go settle in distant lands. Like, let's go out and do it. Like that, I see the angle and the excitement there and how legacy paths can enrich that, but it really does feel a lot of the times, to both of our points, that it ends up being just slightly more restrictive than anything else.
Well, and to me, it does feel like you said, like a checklist. You know, It's not like I'm enjoying getting to those points a lot of the time. And I think that's where it felt like to me more of a chore than an actual part of the game. I do like them. I think it's a good idea to have these things in the game that you are striving to do. But having it be the end-all be-all for how you're going to win the game is not a great feeling. I would really prefer it be kind of a checkpoint, is the way I'm going to put it in there, where it's like you get through the first stage and you know this is kind of where you're at. All right, you get through the second age, and I know that's kind of what they meant for them to be.
Yeah.
But it really does, because they're based so, I think, so much in the age transition, where it's like you get to get all this extra stuff if you get all these points.
Yes.
It's like, well, okay, well, if I don't want to get too far behind, then I have to go get these points. You know, I really think the weird part is like the legacy path system actually feels the best in the modern age, which I know a lot of people probably may not like. There are issues with them individually, but the idea of it being you are building towards this big end game thing is what matters. And I want it to be where that's how it goes. And I don't want it to be necessarily that it's going to give me extra power or extra points or whatever.
Right.
I want it to be that, okay, well, I am an economic, Civ. I'm going to probably stay that way. If I need to change it based on later in the game, then that's great. But I don't want it to be like detrimental to the way that it goes throughout my play style. And so, I like this. I want the score victories on, to a certain degree as well. I want it to be, it sounds terrible, but I want this system to be what it is, but put it in the Civ 6 and 5 context, where it's like, it's all adding up to a certain amount of points that you get towards your victory score, more so than all these other things that are happening. So then it's just happening naturally. And if it's like, if it's like you're playing a game of Catan, I just played some Catan this weekend, and I was like, the satisfying feeling of that is like, I just need, my roads unintentionally are already connecting. I only need 2 more roads or whatever to get longest road. Okay, well, then I'm going to put that extra effort in, just for a little bit there into that, and I might as well get that as well, and that gets me those extra points that maybe I wasn't anticipating, right? And so I wanted to kind of be like that, and I really do, to bring it to my second point, Connors, I believe that this is the start of major changes for legacy paths coming in. We've seen changes, but I think like full-on overhaul, with the idea of the fact that like they're like, hey, you know what, guys, you don't like them that much, we're gonna allow you to just turn them off.
Yeah, that's where I think I wouldn't say I disagree with you here, because I tend to agree, but I don't know that we're gonna ever see a complete removal of the legacy path convention that we've seen now. But I do think this is, from a developer standpoint, to your point, this is an opening of the door. This is them saying, and this kind of fits in with like the fact that we're getting Steam Workshop and some other things as well. This is okay, we gave you how we think the game should be played from the developers.
Yes.
But now we understand, and maybe we realize, you want some more options and customization. So you know what? Play any Civ you want, play any legacy path you want, mod the game. And that is like, I think that's a really, I think we should give Firaxis and 2K, or whoever's involved in this team, I think we should give them their flowers a bit for that. Because, sure, we would have probably liked that from the beginning, but I also understand from a developer point of view of like, this is the game, we're shipping it how we think our fans would want it, and what we think is good, And yes, there are some guardrails with that, but at least it kind of presents a cohesive model of like, yeah, you have to do these challenges to unlock these civs, you have to complete these checkpoints to get these legacy path points. Like, it's kind of a 1 to 2, if A then B mentality. And I think a lot of people didn't like that because of, I think this is where you get it with the kind of the, sorry, I'm getting very like I don't know, existential here, but like when you think of the core part of being a Civ fan, it's not necessarily that we want to complete challenges and checkpoints and do, get through certain challenges to reach certain things. I think it's to your point earlier in the beginning of this video, this is a sandbox style game. People want creative freedom in this game. And especially if we're going to have like leaders and civs and kind of throw out some of the historical stuff right away when you have Ben Franklin leading the Mayans, right? Like, if we're going to do that at the outset, might as well just let us pick whatever civ we want, right? So that I think is a really core thing. One thing I do want to hone in on, though, and talk about a little bit more, this is a little bit impromptu, so apologies, Rob.
No.
But what legacy paths are you most excited to turn off? Like, because it's per age, it's per path. Like, the first one that comes to mind for me is it'd be great across the board if there was, number one, no economic legacy path in Antiquity. I think it's way too strong that some players can just keep all their cities that they make and others have to go back to towns. I think that's crazy. I think we'd both be excited to get rid of the religious legacy path in Exploration. But to your point, I think you made a great point earlier. I think all the modern age ones are kind of worth keeping around because of what they function within the late game. But yeah, I'd be curious if you had any other like paths you were excited to finally turn off, like ones you just hate or something. I may have taken the best two. I don't know.
No, I mean, to a certain degree, I actually like the economic one in Antiquity. I like the idea of collecting resources and having a trade empire in that way because it's kind of what was. And I want to make a quick point that I was thinking about when you were talking as well, is that like the vision for this game makes sense to me. I can totally see where they were going, and it feels realistic to a certain degree, where they really, really connected it with history in a very big way this time, right? Where it's like everything within these ages is connected to things that actually happen in those ages, right? Which I think is good to a certain degree.
Yep.
At the same time, again, that takes away from the Civ fantasy. So the vision was there. I think the execution was off. And so with these legacy paths, like for my favorite ones, I almost the way you said it made me think maybe I just turn off Antiquity and Exploration, and then I get to the modern age, and it's like, okay, I've built my empire towards this at this point. The ultimate end game for me to win is going to be, unintentionally I ended up going towards science way more than I thought I needed to. It ended up just happening that way based on the way that the other things happen in the game. So now this is how it's going to go. That's one option for me. One that I definitely want to get rid of is treasure fleets. They made treasure fleet changes, or they're going to in this next patch, and that's great. But like, dude, I hate that mechanic. I think I can go as far as saying I cannot stand it. And it's what kills me every time is because I like economic legacy paths. I like the bread. I don't like the middle. Yeah. And it's where Exploration for me, I just continues to be such a slog. I just don't love it. I think religion is still horrible in it.
Yeah, a lot of them in Exploration
feels
the yields are like very meh. Like, I mean, the science one feels counterintuitive to the age because you're trying to get big yields on tiles while you're out exploring. It's like, well, I want to be focused on being out there if I'm going to really do that. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yep. It's weird. It's like one of the only ones that I think has felt good-ish at all levels is military. Maybe that's just because I'm a military guy, but even still, like, you get more points for conquering in distant lands and stuff like that. Like that is great. Like it makes sense for exploration, but I gotta say it in every one of our videos, please give me a medieval age. Somebody out there make a mod with a medieval age. Extend the game a little bit.
Rob will never stop asking for medieval age in Civ 7. He will never stop.
It needs it. The game needs it. There's just too much of an abrupt change between Antiquity to Exploration. That's not anywhere close to how it was. And at least with Exploration into Modern, it makes sense.
Sure.
It really does work, I think, a lot better. If they're not going to give us this after Modern Age one that everybody's talked about, by the way.
Yeah.
just putting that out there. There's been talks of a fourth age forever, even potentially in the coding of the game.
Yeah.
And there is still none. So when it comes to the legacy path stuff, I think that that's, not to get us too far off track, but that is where I like the idea of it being at the end of the game. I almost would rather just be interconnected from the start.
Yeah.
That's something, you know what? Okay, there you go.
Have just longer.
Yeah, well, just have it all connected.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
have it be a stopping point necessarily. Like, it's okay for the age to transition, but don't have it be like, oh, well, I don't know. Just have it all connect and flow into each other better. The flow of the game is what feels problematic, and that's where legacy paths, I think, is really thrown me off.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think that, to your point earlier, I think the modern age idea is really fun, where you just go no legacy paths at all, antiquity to exploration, and then you have all these empires in the game, in theory, that have kind of built completely their own way, and then you see you can kind of claim the final victory. That could be fun. I could also see this producing a lot of really fun challenges, though, too. Where you... Sorry, there's a gnat in front of me. What a tragedy. But, like, you could turn on only the military legacy path and turn everything else off and just basically be like, hey, if you want to win in this game, you have to fight. And just make it like a brawly game. Like, and the same for science. Like, hey, only thing that matters here is science. So see what you can do scientifically. Everyone's going to be battling. It's kind of like a space race minigame, So
yeah, that would be fun.
There's a lot, I think, to kind of go along with the sandbox line of thinking. If I'm trying to be creative about this approach, I think there is a lot that this offers us as players to be able to use legacy paths more to our liking, be creative with how we use them, and make better, more interesting games, up the replayability, or just straight up turn them off and go full creative. But I think this is a really, really good thing. This is a good overall angle to see from developers. I think that is maybe my biggest takeaway from this whole update, is that this is just a large changing of the tide for how Civ 7 is going to be developed and patched moving forward, that I am personally super stoked about. So
I am too, and this is a great start. I don't think any of us were expecting this. I don't remember seeing anything about this for this path. I don't even think they mentioned it in previous thoughts or updates. So they are really allowing it to be a more open game. I think that's kind of their point, and I think that's why mod support is coming out now. And stuff like this, like you said, it makes me really excited to see what modders can do, because the fact that you can turn it on and off means that they could put in their own legacy paths.
Yeah.
And you can turn those on or off if you would like to.
Yep.
And that's freaking cool to me. So
really cool.
I'm pumped.
Yep. Well, that is going to do it for our kind of legacy path deep dive. We are going to be doing a lot more of these deep dives kind of coming up to build some hype for this new update. One that Rob and I are very excited about. So be sure to stay tuned on the channel for more of those. More of our other content. I've got some Let's Plays going right now. We've got fun content coming out all the time. So be sure to stay tuned. And from our house to yours, we hope you'll join us for one more turn here on Civ House. We'll see y'all next time.